Are you worried about a loved one who's struggling with a possible addiction, like pain pills, alcohol, drugs? Are you trying to help them, but you seem to be losing yourself? Do you dislike the person you're becoming because of the stress in your home? Do you feel like you're living in a nightmare? Do you want to help your loved one, but have no idea what the next step is? My name is Harold Haven Boggs. I'm licensed. My specialties are marriage, alcohol and drug recovery, and trauma healing. And I am so excited to be able to bring to you the number one relationship skill in the world: trust building. Research shows that 60% of the families who struggle with the issues of addictions and recovery make it through with their families intact, and their relationships are better than ever. That's the beauty of recovery. So I like to begin with the end in mind. And the end result of recovery is restored relationships. And the key to restored relationships is building trust. So buckle your seatbelts as we learn the nitty gritty about rebuilding trust today. Trust is the fuel on which each friendship runs. And family relationships are largely friendships. Marriage is a friendship. And as your kids become adults, you switch from adult child to friends. It's a difficult shift to make, but it all runs on trust. Here's the number one trust building skill: listening, understanding, and validating. I call it listening and paraphrasing. I also call it active listening, reflective listening. And the Gottman research shows that it's called listening to understand. It is the bedrock of friendship. So here's how you active listen. Number one, you sit down, you slow down, you set aside your electronic devices. Most families argue too fast. We must slow down. And active listening, reflective listening helps with that a lot. So, number two, you set aside your opinions for a few moments, your point of view, so that you can validate the other person's point of view. You set aside your point of view for a few minutes so you can hear their point of view. Number three, you look at the speaker and focus on their meaning, and you listen with your heart. You try to get their point. You try to understand. There's a difference between listening to respond and listening to understand. When you're listening to respond, you're sitting there, you look like you're listening, but you're really thinking of your comeback. And you're missing half of what the person's saying as you think of your comeback. When you listen to understand, you're setting aside your opinions. You're not thinking of your comeback. You're trying to understand what they're meaning, which means you have to value the differences. They have their opinions, you have yours. You set yours aside so you can understand theirs. It's sacrificial love. You listen with the heart. Number four, pay attention well enough to repeat what you think you heard. I sometimes take notes in conversations. And once you get to know me, you'll understand that it's okay to take notes while the other person's talking. You want to understand and be able to repeat back what you think you're hearing. That's number five. Repeat back in your own words what you think you're hearing. Focus on their point. Listen to understand, not to respond. And number 6, ask the person if you got it. As you repeat it back, ask them, is that basically what you're saying? And if anything was left out, give them a chance to clarify, to make their point, and then you paraphrase what they added. Listen to understand, not to respond. That is the bedrock of building trust, good communication, and that starts with good listening. Trust is the fuel that friendship runs on. The number 2 trust builder is openness, honesty, and transparency. Raising the honesty level daily. We want to be an open book, nothing to hide, no secrets, and we want you to be honest mostly about what you want and how you feel. Those 2 things are valuable to every friendship. We have to get to the point. What do you really want? And how do you feel in this situation? Both of those we want to hear. Information is power. And I want you to give the people important to you lots and lots of information. Now, if you have been dishonest in the past and withholding, you owe people more information. Information is power. If you've withheld information, you've been stealing from people. You're stealing their power. So make up for it now. Tell them where you're going, who you're with, what you're doing. Be transparent. If you've been withholding, if there's been dishonesty, you owe them honesty now. If you've stolen their power in the past, you owe them information. Give that freely. Be an open book. Be transparent. Be careful about what I call brutal honesty. And that's where you say something unkind and you say, I was just being honest. This trust building has no room for that. And so we have 4 questions, 4 ancient questions you can ask yourself to measure if this is a good thing to say and when to say it. Let's suppose someone came into the room wearing what you think is a funny looking hat. Before you comment on the hat and say something like, that's a stupid looking hat, I want you to ask yourself these 4 questions. Does this need to be said at all? Does it need to be said now, or would a different time be better? Does it need to be said by me? And the 4th question is it kind? If you cannot answer yes to all 4 questions, do not say the thing. So that is trust builder number 2, openness, honesty, and transparency. And it builds trust. And trust is the fuel of friendship. So we're building trust today. And the number 3 trust builder is keeping your agreements. Making and keeping clear agreements builds trust. So, of course, to be kept, an agreement must be clear in the first place. You want to clarify who's going to do what, by when, and where, and how. So again, lots of information. You want to make a clear agreement. And also, because things change so fast, it's also wise to have a plan B and even a plan C. And if things change, you want to communicate. That's what cell phones are really for. Communicate when things change. More information is better. And that ties together your listening and understanding and your honesty and transparency. communicate when things change. God gave us friends. They're gifts from God. If you value your friend, if you respect your friend, and if you respect yourself, you will be a person of your word. Do what you said you will do. And I like to find a need and fill it. That's a way of life that's been very satisfying. So that's trust builder number 3. And trust is the fuel of friendship. We're talking about trust today. And the number 4 trust builder is praying together and spending time together. God gave us friends. I recommend pray like breathing. Apostle Paul called it pray without ceasing. Pray like breathing. Pray at home together. Pray when you're out and about. Pray at meal times. Pray in the mornings. Pray in the evenings as you're going to sleep. Pray, help us, God. Pray, thank you, God. Pray, we want to be more useful to you, Lord. Send me, Lord. Some people aren't that comfortable praying. They aren't used to it. So for starters, try holding hands with your family members. Talk about what you want prayed. Then you pray silently. Then you squeeze hands and say amen when you're finished. Also, meditate together. Have quiet time together. Spend time together. Read a book together. Read the Bible together. Go to church together. Golf together. That's a great activity. Frisbee golf together. Walk together. There's a new sport called pickleball. It's not new, but it's newly popular. And it's great fun. It's especially popular among the elderly, but young people are doing it too. We got a set of bocce balls, and that's a fun game for spending time together. Chat together, talk together, share hopes, dreams, fears, concerns, and goals. That's a Gottman exercise that I think is really one of their best, where you both share hopes, dreams, fears, concerns, and goals. Spending time together, praying together, builds trust, and trust is the fuel of friendship. We're talking about trust today. Trust is the fuel of friendship. And the number 5 trust builder is being super positive and building one another up. This builds trust like crazy. It's wonderful. We begin being super positive by saying thank you a lot and using please and thank you. Now, medical science has found that in order to keep your immune system healthy, human beings need 4 hugs a day minimum. One of my colleagues has even scheduled it out. They have 1 hug after they get up in the morning, 1 hug for when they leave for work, another hug when they return from work, and the 4th hug is after dinner. Each hug is 20 seconds in length. If you actually count it out, that's a nice long hug. That gives you time to synchronize your breathing together. It's actually a spiritual experience. It's very precious. So give that to yourselves. Strengthen your immune system. 4 hugs a day. We want to bring positivity to each conversation. So the Gottman research shows us we have to put a ban on criticism. We have to put a ban on defensiveness. We have to put a ban on contempt. And we put a ban on stonewalling, which is the silent treatment. We want to bring positivity to each conversation. The Gottman research found that the way a conversation begins largely affects how effective it is. If it begins harshly, it doesn't turn out well. So they're teaching folks how to use the gentle startup. If you want more about that, go to my webpage and we can teach you the gentle startup from the Gottman method. It's fantastic for building trust. The next item in Trust Builder number 5 is, because you know your partner's vulnerabilities, you must not use them. You know what will immediately enrage them. Don't do that. You know how to push their buttons. Don't do that. Express goodwill instead. Remind him or her of your appreciation. Look for things to praise and often say, I love you. Here's a challenge for you. Every week, I want you to ask your spouse, how can I help you have a better week? Ask your kids, how can I help you have a better week? Ask them, how can I be a better spouse? How can I be a better dad? How can I be a better mom? How can I better show you I love you? Ask the people you care about and accept their feedback. Finally, in Trust Builder number 5, I want to talk about what I call the Gottman timeout. Their research has discovered that when we get upset, the heart rate increases. When the heart rate gets to about 95 beats a minute, the body automatically shifts gears and releases adrenaline and cortisol into your bloodstream. It's automatic. It's called fight, flight, or freeze. When the adrenaline hits your bloodstream, 3 of your body systems shut off. Your immune system shuts down. That's not good. Your digestion shuts down. That's also not good. A lot of people, when they're upset, they feel nauseous. It's due to the adrenaline, and their digestion is shut down. The third thing that shuts down is your neocortex, your thinking brain. That's where logic and language live. So you're going to say things you regret, and you can't think straight in order to problem solve. So what the Gottmans suggest is 4 steps. Number 1, you quit talking for a few minutes. Both of you, everybody in the family, quits talking for a few minutes. It's not going to kill you. Quit talking. Number 2, in the Gottman timeout, you back away from each other for a few minutes. For example, 15 minutes. And that will give the person upset a time for the adrenaline to dissipate. So you stop talking for a few minutes. You back away from each other for a few minutes. The Gottmans recommend that you do what they call physiological self-soothing. And the best example I have is to sit in a chair and do abdominal breathing. Abdominal breathing involves pretending there's a balloon in your stomach. As you inhale, you inflate the balloon, hold it a second, and then there's a long, slow, smooth exhale. That's the key. That exhale will lower your heart rate. As your heart rate lowers, your emotions will change, and you can calm yourself any time you want to. Now, as you're breathing for 15 minutes, past thoughts may try to impinge in your mind. You say, no, thank you. You return to the present moment breath. Future worries might try to invade. You say, no, thank you. Return to your present moment breath. So you breathe, you control your thinking, and the mind will wander. You just simply bring it back. No beating yourself up, no self-punishment. That's just the mind. But you bring it back time after time. At the end of 15 minutes, you check back and see if everyone's calm. If everyone's calm, you get back together, you sit down and brainstorm and problem solve. That's what adults do. So that's the Gottman timeout. It makes a big difference. It can make all the difference in your family. Do not criticize. Do not be defensive. Put a ban on contempt. That's belittling and put downs. Put a ban on stonewalling. That's the silent treatment. And use the physiological self-soothing, the breathing. Do the Gottman timeout. Quit talking. Back away from each other. Sit in a chair and breathe. And then every 15 minutes, check back to see if everyone's calm. Some people take a half an hour to calm down. It's okay. Once everyone's calm, get back together, brainstorm, and problem solve. Seated. That is an effective trust builder. Being super positive, building each other up, using your breathing to stay calm. Calmness is the number one parenting skill. It's also a terrific skill for friendship and building trust. Trust is the fuel that friendship runs on. So we're talking about building trust. Trust is the fuel of friendship. And there's a bonus number 6 trust builder. Dr. Gottman, Dr. John Gottman borrowed it from Dr. Gary Chapman. He's the 5 love languages guy. And that's trust builder number 6. Use your loved one's top 2 love languages. So here are the 5 love languages. They are words of affirmation, quality time, acts of service, gifts, and physical touch. Those are the 5 love languages. Now, my top 2 are words of affirmation and physical touch. My wife's top 2 are quality time and acts of service. So if I want to get my love across to her, I use her favorite ways of receiving love, quality time, and acts of service. If she wants to get her love across to me, she uses words of affirmation and touch. Using your loved one's top love languages is a great trust builder. Dr. Chapman put a wonderful app online for your phone called the 5 love languages, and you can get the 20 questions, take the test for free, and figure out what your top 2 are and what your spouse's top 2 are, so you can use this as a trust builder. There's also a test for kids, so you can know your kids' top 2 favorite love languages and use those. And you won't bother doing things the way other people don't like to receive it. One of the families I worked with for a couple of years, the man loved to give his wife flowers. The only problem was she hated flowers, but he liked giving them. It took me 2 months to convince him to stop giving her flowers and do something that really had meaning to her. You want to give love the way they want to receive love, rather than the way you want to give it. Be sacrificial in your loving, put others first. And I love Dr. Gary Chapman for the fact that he took the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, and he added a twist, do unto others as they would have you do unto them. I love that. So that's trust builder number 6. The 5 love languages, using your spouse's or your family members' top 2 love languages, that builds trust. And trust is the fuel of friendship. Would you love a proven plan to restore your family and help your loved one reclaim their life? If so, I have good news. I put together a comprehensive online course to guide you each step of the way so that you have full confidence in what to do and what not to do, what to say and what not to say, so that you can help your loved one without losing yourself. Our online course is here. It's ready. It's called Helping a Loved One with a Drug Problem Without Losing Yourself, 5 Powerful Tools. I provide you with the knowledge and tools you need to support your loved one on their journey to recovery now. Again, it's called Helping a Loved One with a Drug Problem Without Losing Yourself, 5 Powerful Tools. With the proper tools, you can turn this crisis into an opportunity. Just click the link. Helping a loved one with a drug problem without losing yourself, 5 Powerful Tools. Helping a loved one with a drug problem without losing yourself, 5 Powerful Tools.